Is there real paranormal activity among us in Ipswich?
Some people would say yes, some people would say no. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. With myself, I will always try and disprove something before I will say it's paranormal. If I can't disprove it and then it's unexplained, then it's got to be classed as paranormal. I've seen plenty of things in my own life. I've lived in a lot of places I would class as haunted. When I was with my first wife and my child was young, we would hear talking over the baby monitors. My child would not wake up with night terrors all the while. We've had numerous witnesses hear voices over the baby monitor, and there was a time when I was in the bathroom and I saw a figure standing behind me in the mirror, and I turned around and it weren't there. About 10 years ago, I received a call from Radio Suffolk. They were looking for something to do on Halloween. I knew some of the people I worked with were doing an investigation here that night, a group investigation. So Radio Suffolk come along with us. We were down the cellar with the radio as they were interviewing me. We had footsteps coming down the staircase. We had the beer barrels, things knocking on the beer barrels. I left the guys down there for a bit because they wanted to be down there by themselves just to try and discredit it. And then they ended up getting locked in the cellar and someone having to get them out of the cellar. We're here in the Woolpack pub. I was last here about 10 years ago. In this room here, we've done a glass session seance. We've managed to get some answers to yes-no questions. This room was haunted by one of the ex-clientele, who this was his happy place and he's still here. It was down here. I was with the guys from Radio Suffolk on that Halloween night. We were standing just here. I was being interviewed by him and we heard someone coming down the stairs. Obviously they checked, there wasn't no one there. We carried on the interview and then we could hear tapping on the barrels. We checked in the actual cellar where the barrels are and there wasn't no one here. Obviously carried on the interview and we finished the interview. They asked me if I would leave them down here. They were in this room. They were standing here. The host for the night, who was doing the radio show, and his assistant. I closed the door. As they were in here, it actually latched shut and they couldn't get out. They were down here for about a good 10 minutes before we noticed they had to come back up, and we come down and we let them out. They were quite shaken by it. They couldn't explain it. It's one of them things, you know. It could have been wind. It might not have been. But as you can feel, there's a slight breeze down here, but I don't think there's a slight breeze enough to shut any doors. When we were upstairs, we were obviously allowed up in the living quarters. We got cold spots. And like I said earlier, some photos. I got a light anomaly in the window and a very slight sort of figure in one of the upstairs windows where the car park is. Here at Christchurch Mansion, it is said to be a very haunted home. Some of the stories here are in the music room. The musical instruments will play by themselves. There's been people witness imprints on chairs and beds in the home, cold spots, voices heard. I've come round here with an Oculus. It's loaded with thousands and thousands of words, and it said that the spirit will pick the words out. Whilst I was walking about, I kept getting up on the Oculus fire. Obviously, a very long time ago, there was a big fire at this home what destroyed half the home. If we catch anything, then we'll change filters just to see if we can get depth in like any light anomalies and stuff. I find the most interesting is EVPs. electronic voice phenomenon, also known as. There's a place up in, or it was in St Joseph, up near Clacton. It got a lot of publicity as being one of the most haunted houses in England. I was asked to go in and take some photos by the owner. When we went in, obviously we didn't have nothing recording, but we got a lady singing upstairs. What we could hear as we walked through the house. Went upstairs, no one was there, knocked on neighbours' doors, no neighbours were home, so we couldn't explain it. I've been doing private investigations, an investigation up in Felixstowe, a family whose young child kept getting scratched and that. I went off on my own, went and sat in the bathroom, put a digital voice recorder on, and obviously I'd sat down before I even started asking questions. I had a voice come through what said stop talking. It can be quite hairy. I've been touched, I've had investigators who we've been pushed downstairs, so we get quite a bit of evidence. But the thing is, if you're investigating a place for 4 hours, sometimes you'll go in and get nothing. It's not like the shows you see on TV where they've got all these evidence and all that. I was at work one day and I received a phone call from the owners of this property. They had been sitting upstairs relaxing, obviously in their rooms, and they noticed on CCTV what looked like smoke in this room, and they obviously thought there was a fire, so they rushed down here to have a look. All the smoke was on CCTV. Looked like it was coming from that direction over. They wanted to check no one was smoking down here because obviously smoking's not allowed in the building, and there wasn't a fire. The smoke lasted for a good minute, 2 minutes, and then it just vanished. And they couldn't explain it, so they just called us in to see what we thought. We had a look, we tried, come down here, had a look, see if we could see what would have caused it. Obviously, it was night time, so it wasn't reflection from cars going past or nothing like that. And we couldn't explain it ourselves. I believe there's always things in this world that we're never going to understand. I, for one, want answers for that. People are free to believe what they want, but in my beliefs, I believe that when we die, our body's a shell, and our spirit will go on to live on this world or another plane. From years and years ago, you've always had paranormal phenomenon, seances, and after I die, it will continue. So if people want to believe, they can believe. There's always going to be stuff we can't explain.